then that would be well, they have no idea what they're learning.
Yes. His question was not correct. You don't ask what they're learning about. You say, what are you doing? Tell me why. Why did you do that? How did you get this? Mm-hmm. You don't say, what are you learning? What are you doing? Because they're doing.
Right.
Denise, we had talked about principles, not knowing. So you had your hand up. You have a thought?
Well, when you're just now saying that, ask what you're doing. Because a lot of times I'll go in and I will say, tell me what you're doing. Or tell me what you're, but sometimes I'll say, tell me what you're learning. I'm not going to do that anymore. So.
It's okay if you come in at the end of the class, after we've had these discussions, then they know what they've learned. But if you come in when I just give the activity, they just have an activity that they're doing. They don't realize that they're going to be learning something eventually. Okay? They're just working with the tiles. So it depends on when you come in. If you come in at the end and you say, what have you learned, and they say nothing, then the teacher kind of needs to go back and rethink that. Anything else? Okay. So as a learner, were you engaged, or whether you were 3rd grade, 5th grade, high school, were you engaged? How do you know you were engaged?
If you know you're engaged, at the end you can actually explain.
Good. At the end you can actually explain what you were doing. So that takes a lot of work on the teacher's part. That takes constantly walking around and watching and listening. 2 very important things, watching and listening, so that you know what they're doing, and if they're headed down the wrong path or they're stuck and completely don't know what to do, then you can ask questions and guide them. And I did that with a group or 2. I didn't have to do that very much because, of course, y'all all have teacher knowledge. Yes, ma'am.
You're also engaged if, because we all took our own quadrant on the paper.
Yeah.
But then if you could fill in any gaps from the other person's responsibilities.
Excellent point. She said they all took their different quadrants of the chart to do, but then she knew she was engaged when she may have had this part, but she could explain this part. Or she may have had this part, but she could explain this part. So her learning, the different representations, she connected. Remember that red dot up there? She was connecting all of those representations. Well said. Okay, so we're not going to do this in class because we're not going to have time. Remember, I have to leave at 2:30 to get back to Houston by 7. So I want you to do this for homework. I'm not going to take it up, okay? Because we will see each other again for a month. But please try to do this for yourself, for your own good, in case you share this activity with your students, okay? A real-world scenario other than square pools. Other than square pools, okay? All right. Well, oh, sorry.
That you're assigned relationship.
Yeah, the A, B, C, D, E, or F. Yes, ma'am.
I'm not understanding the.
Can you show the first slide?
Write a real world scenario
The
that you're
verbiage is not
assigned
mentioned.
relationships.
That assigned.
What? Oh, well. You know, when I get up at 1:30.
What did you mean to understand?
Right,
a
with
real
your
world
relationship
Four.
that we have.
Four. And here were your
that we
assigned
had.
relationships, remember? These were your assigned problems. So you're writing a real world problem, other than a pool problem.
Hey, go back.
Four.
Go back to that other screen, please. A, B, C, D, E. Go back.
Will this be on Dropbox?
You got any money?
Or your assigned relationship?
That's what they're doing. She typed in. They're correcting it now.
Can I go forward now?
Un momento, por favor.
I enjoyed this morning. Everyone's still alive.
Gracias, señorita. Señoras. Thank you.
Okay. So we're gonna transition to another activity today, and hopefully we can get this done before I have to leave. So this is what the grid paper was for. We're going to talk about translations. I'm going to be using page paper. I brought my own, Alexis, but if y'all y'all already have some that's open, we can use yours, I don't care, but my box is brand new. So, on grid paper, I want you to plot these points to the vertices of a quadrilateral, and I want you to draw the quadrilateral, okay? And I want you to draw any diagonals to the quadrilateral, just draw the quadrilateral. Thank you. Open, if it's not open, I'll put it. Notice this has positives and negatives, so you're gonna need all four quadrants.
Overline with the drawing paper. Isn't how paper the drawing paper? Yeah.
Hamburger patties. And a little blue line.
Yeah, but it's like thin where you can see through. I call
It's
it
waxed
drawing
on one
paper.
side.
I just call it drawing paper. She thought we meant like the pad paper. I was like, no, but I'll be more than happy to take those posters off y'all's hands.
Yeah, we use patty paper for reflections.
All the time. And what do you do for the kids that can't draw?
Right?
Pray.
And I can't speak. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just playing.
I know you were.
Thank you.
Who looks laminated? Yes, it does.
No, I mean like just orientation of paper.
Straight line and trace it, so
Now, I'm walking around, I know your teachers need to draw a quadrilateral, but I'm walking around, because sometimes when I give this to students, they connect the A and the C, and so they end up with a kite-looking thing, because they don't realize in mathematics, we always connect them in the order, so you're gonna have to watch your kiddos. I would suggest that you label your X and your Y axis. Let me just use it. Dry brush.
Oh, I do. No.
Label your X and Y axis, please.
I got it.
And label your points, your vertices, A, B, C, and D, so we can be straight when we go to the next thing.
On the overhead, the pencil doesn't show up. Document camera.
No, no.
It's really cool.
So I tend to always.
Okay, thumbs up if you finished drawing.
I know, it's like,
Okay.
it's just maybe my
I'll give you 10 seconds. So I gave it to you. Look at your neighbor, make sure that they've labeled their axes correctly. Make sure that they've drawn the quadrilateral correctly.
You're welcome.
Thumbs up if you're through drawing. Okay, this do it the other way. Thumbs up if you're still drawing. Okay. I guess that's it.
Okay, you can move it.
What's your name, Tim? What is your name, Tim?
Tim and I have been having a slight discussion up here, and you do know that you have to take a post-test. And you do know that the post-test comes from Louisville, okay? Louisville has validated this test, which if you're a researcher, that means something. If you're just a public school teacher, you don't really care because it doesn't affect you. But they have validated that test. The only problem with that test is there are things on that test for middle school that are not in the middle school text in Texas. So there are some things on that test that I'm not going to waste your time teaching y'all when y'all are not going to apply it to your classroom. So when you're taking that post-test, there may be things on there that I did not cover, and that was on purpose, right? Because I don't want to waste your valuable time teaching you things that are only taught in Algebra 2 or, you know, something.
So you set me up for failure.
We don't grade a failure, we grade progress.
So you set me up for no progress.
It can be negative progress.
Okay, so raise your thumbs up if you are still drawing. Great. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to trace this on patty paper. If you're not aware of patty paper, it's paper that goes between the patties of hamburger patties. Okay, you can buy it at the butcher shop or you can buy it at the teacher supply store, and it's useful for many, many, many things. So one each. So we're going to sketch this on that patty paper. Now the beauty of patty paper is it's thin, and you can put that on top and trace it and still see it. Patty paper is used a great deal in geometry and is extremely useful for a whole lot of things.
Do we have to use the full sheet or can we cut it in half?
I have plenty,
Okay.
but you can cut it in half if you choose.
So let's just because we were out.
Do we draw the?
Trace the quadrilateral on the patty paper.
She said trace it.
Anybody else still need some? This comes in a box of 1,000, so I have plenty.
What I usually said was overhead.
Excuse me.
Would you use parchment?
I think because of the parchment.
Laminate or something?
Wax.
That can be used too.
Because they were just like, here, the reminders and this stuff. And I grabbed those, like, what can I use this for? I was like, I'll find something. And I took like 3 boxes.
I have a ton of transparencies. Okay, so you've traced it on your patty paper, correct? Thumbs up if you finished tracing. Yes, ma'am.
Should we label our vertices?
Label your vertices. Thank you, Evan. Label your vertices. Okay. So now I want you to use your patty paper, the tracing, the drawing, to translate the quadrilateral 3 units to the right and 4 units up. 3 units to the right and 4 units up. And you're more than welcome to talk to your table mates. heads up, please talk to your partners to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Where's your 8 points?
Now, just draw it underneath.
Oh, did you have to draw together?
0, 2.
I'm sorry.
That's where my A was.
So we draw it together?
Yes, ma'am, once you've translated that,
Said A is A.
draw that again
What letter do you like?
on the graph paper.
With A, so we go.
Draw them on the graph paper.
Three. That's two.
Any questions right near there?
I said, what letter do you like? That one's better. I always tell my kids that what letter do you like. Choose one. I don't care which letter you choose. Just choose one.
Oh, and then do it again. So I can draw it on our.
Draw it on your graph paper.
Will this be Q prime?
You have now created a translation in the coordinate plane. Some elementary teachers will call that a slide. Please do not. It is a translation. Okay. I know kids, slide is easy to remember, but it's not the proper word, so we use translation. No, this is on the desk.
Oh, okay. So much easier to make it. 2 points for each coordinate.
Middle school does in 7th grade.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're going to put a little bit of algebra into this, okay? We're going to put a little bit of algebra into this, but first I want to talk about what I heard as I walked around. Some people said, which point? And I don't know what they were asking when they said which point. I just kept walking. But what do you think their table mates said?
Is that point on this spot? Do you have the same point that I have? Do you have point A in the same spot that I have point A?
Okay, when you say same spot, you mean same orientation. Yes. I heard over here somebody said pick a point. Pick the one you like. I think is what they said. As long as you kept that patty paper in the same orientation as your original figure. You can't rotate it in any way. Yes, ma'am.
What would be maybe a more
Complicated.
word for orientation? Because my kids suspect more just is in one ear, out the other. Like I use orientation like with similar figures. And position, I'm thinking that's the positioning.
Yeah, but if I was gonna use the word position, I would also use the word orientation so that they hear them together. But sometimes orientation, high school kids can make fun of it, but down where you are, they probably won't. There's lots of words that high school kids do make fun of.
That's what she said, Denise.
I did tell you the story of me using the, show me with your fingers how much time you need. Remember, I say that all the time, in the summer especially. Show me with your fingers how much more time you need, 1, 2, or 3 more minutes, and you'll hold up the minutes. I had a little boy one time that only needed 1. And that's how he showed me. So, after he finished with that 1 minute, we had a conversation. All right, so now we're gonna put some algebra in it. This is what I want you to do. Create this table and complete this table. For your original 4 points, put your x value here. For your new shape, 4 points for x, put those values here. The ordinate, the abscissa, I can't say that word. The abscissa number, the first number in the ordered pair, for the x value. And then do the same for the y. And tell me what you did to the original x to get the x prime. Okay? So you're going to create that chart and complete it. And this is why you have table mates on paper. You can put it on the grid if you want to, or you can put it on plain paper.
We're not drawing any more though? Just going to
We're going to draw some more.
Oh.
I still have 2 hours.
No, sir.
Actually, an
Well,
hour and...
if I put my table on here, I should not. Because we're gonna draw
If you need more graph paper, we can make more graph paper. Now, we're all working individually, and I appreciate appreciate your diligence, but I would really like to hear conversations.
So what do you do this weekend?
What are you doing is not a good question.
We're gonna draw this thing.
Will you just say please?
Two, correct?
So we're drawing. And just jump
What's that?
Oh, so I've got the wrong.
no, I mean like oh big ones or no, I'm sorry, like hey Alexis, we're using rulers today. Should we get a class set?
That was like the #1 thing at CAS that I asked for. Can I have more than one? Can I have more than one?
And you didn't get them?
Oh, yeah.
I'll say.
I feel bad for IKEA because I'm always stealing their rulers, their tape measures. You know, the free ones that they have hanging. One will fall into my purse, and so I use those in the classroom for kids to measure stuff. Well, you don't have to make a lot of trips. Depends on how they fall in my purse bag.
How is it that you've managed to go to IKEA without me?
It was one of those, think I'm gonna go to IKEA. It wasn't a...
And so he said, oh, you don't need to tie you because you're just gonna have to do a lot of journey. So I never learned to tie. Well, I didn't tell him I was gonna minor in English. So my mother did a lot of my typing. I went home almost every weekend. Mother, type it actually.
Alright, good, this one will be.
Yeah.
Okay, check with your neighbors, make sure you're getting the same values in that table.
Do you see how crooked these lines are? And I can never go straight. I was actually going to mark the dimensions down.
It's just like her. So
Dear.
for our AX coordinate, A original is so our X coordinate would be -3, and our X prime would be 0.
Okay, show me with your fingers how much more time you need for this table. 1, 2, or 3 more minutes. 2, got it.
I have 5.
So our Y coordinate is -2.
Is that what you did?
Yeah.
And our Y prime would be 2.
It's going from this point over here.
Cause I skipped a line, because I didn't know we were gonna extend our.
Or letter,
You only went on one.
so letter B.
After me.
But here, I mean, these other things what's the table? I was just like, I was just sitting here going, what? You're not done?
1 and 5, I'm sorry, Y.
Some of us are slower than others.
No, excellent.
And that's my testing.
Because
Okay, and then
5
this would be
is 4.
right?
And we changed
So 2 5
So
for x
negative
and x
2
prime.
plus 4
Cause you already understand.
we moved, haven't we moved?
1
It's just a little tip. I think it's in the.
I can't. I can't do this. I'm talking to you.
Oh, no. You do
We
you.
got both.
Thank you.
y plus
She said it before you came.
And they make it
y
So if you want
plus
to.
4 true, this is x plus 3.
It creates.
The thing is, I do this with my kids, I don't, this would be good to show them the thing, and then
Okay,
make them draw this.
so let's go over the table.
Because it's an x-axis, so it's going left
Oh,
and
so
right.
now you're leaving. Okay, so here, what was your process to go from negative
Jane, are we? Alright, so what is the original x value in point A?
Negative 3.
Negative 3. So what was your new point A?
0.
0. So what was the process to get from negative 3 to 0?
Plus 3.
You added 3, correct? You added 3. So check with your neighbor that the rest of the table for x is completed correctly. So we're fixing to start going pretty fast. This is the warm-up.
Brownie.
Okay, so now let's look at some of the y values. I'm going to skip down to C. What was the original y value in point C? 1. What is the new y value in point C? 5. So how did you get from 1 to 5? Plus 4. Can you tell me where that 3 in the x and where the 4 in the y is coming from?
What?
I'm sorry,
Oh.
Brenda?
So the right movement is your addition.
Mm-hmm.
The number that you moved was 3, so that's where that plus 3 came from. The upward movement was in a positive direction according to the Cartesian plane, and so that was your addition of 4.
Okay, so what can you tell me about every x value in your new figure?
It should be plus 3.
It should be 3 greater than the than the original. And what about the y units, Melissa?
Plus, the y value will be 4 greater.
4 greater. Good, because it was a translation. All right, good. So,
Are you asking me to?
we just talked about that, and we just talked about that. So, how could we write this algebraically? Fill in a table like this. Doesn't have to be perfect, ladies and gentlemen. Quickly, and then we'll move on. Pam?
Excuse me, I was just curious to why you weren't using x and x prime. Why are you using
That's the
new and
version.
I did.
original and new?
I did.
x prime is that little.
But just in what
No,
you were
when
saying.
you were describing it, you were saying what was my original,
Oh,
what was my
verbally?
new,
Yes.
what was my original, what was my new. Oh, I was just curious if you were doing that on purpose. That's what I was
I
asking.
was doing that on purpose because I wasn't sure, the prime sometimes confuses people with prime numbers. So, but if I were doing it in class, I would probably use both terms like I do with dependent and independent. Thank you.
No, I was asking her, is she leaving off prime for a reason? So she's like, I don't know, ask her.
Yeah, very good question, very good question. Okay, so now you're filling in the original image, A, B, C, and D, and the new image, A, B, C, and D, and writing it algebraically at the bottom here.
So during the new table?
So if this is the original image, the ordered pairs is are x, y, right?
Oh,
So this should be written algebraically. Can it be just x and y?
no.
No. You have to tell me what you did, right? Tell me what you did to the original coordinates to get the new ones. You are allowed to talk with your partners.
Trying to redo it.
I'm gonna quit giving y'all one each and just give one per table. That'll make y'all talk.
I don't, we're coming up with our equation that we use.
I was
Well,
laughing because
yeah,
you know, in class
what's the correct term?
when
The order
kids were really fast and we were sitting in the meeting and she said, do your thumb if you're still not finished, do your thumb if you're still not finished. I was going to say, just wait for all the slow ones you're letting us sit here doing nothing, we were gonna cause trouble, but I just said,
Okay. Now you're gonna get your orders paired.
Okay, thumbs up if you're still filling in your chart. Okay, you got 1 minute.
nice sweet work around.
30 seconds.
On the bottom portion, that's what I have.
Yeah, because then it's like, I can do
No, I did. No, you did. You did the same thing I did the first time. I did the same thing. Look, how to cross.
especially when it came to
So you need 2 here, 1, 2.
so it's just one.
You need 2, so you get white.
So what should it be?
I know some of the names they was today was how they draw and this was what got them this that's why they translated they cannot see the two. I know. And that's why when I saw this, I like this.
Yeah, I was
show
started off.
X, but for my kids that are still struggling, I will say,
But they actually want to see, yeah, this is
well, this is
like what we do. I get what you're
it's
saying.
seeing
So
on the
basically,
graphic
pulling out
calculator
your combining
a tray.
the X and Y, which is having an X.
So I see how
Or
many
this is
people
willing
want.
to the graph, seeing our and this is what is that? I didn't think that.
Okay, there you go. Let's go on. Let's go on. Let's go on. So let's talk about this. Okay. If this original image has coordinates of x, y, what are the coordinates of the new image? And let me draw. And it is Tim. I promise.
The image, the coordinate of the new image would be x plus 3, y plus 4.
Okay, so
X
Tim
plus
said
3 comma y plus 4.
this would be the first, the x is up, would be x plus 3, and the ordinate would be y plus 4. So, did anybody, that's a bad question. How did we get that? How did we get the x plus 3 and the y plus 4? Jen,
Okay, I guess I'll take that one this time.
since she's not here.
Well, I am truly Jen. I just pulled that one. So I did that. I mean, how I teach it to my students to start off before actually getting into the equation part. It's not really an equation, expression. Is if we are looking at a number line and we are going to the right, what kind of numbers are going to the right? Even if we are in the negative quantity, it's going to be positive, or they're going to be getting larger. And then you moved up, so that would have been a positive, so plus 3 to x, and then you move up, that's on the y-axis, and my numbers are going positive on the y-axis, so I would have them, or they start to understand that it's gonna be a +4. And an opposite would be if we were going down or versus to the left.
Okay, well said, thank you. So, now we're gonna work with a triangle.
Brandon,
Here are the vertices, and we're gonna do the same thing, but more quickly this time. I didn't give you the intermediate table. This is the, final table. Yes, sir.
What was the word she said? What did you call this new image?
Prime. No, she said obsessed.
You could say X prime and Y prime.
Let's just have
This
to-
this little symbol right here means
Yeah.
prime.
No, that.
It's not
Abscissa and
confusing.
Oh, this is the abscissa. The X values, they are abscissas. And these are the ordinates. And together they are the co-ordinates. Abscissa, like an abscess tooth, abscissa, and ordinate. And together they are the co-ordinates. Why they chose those words, I have no clue. Even though I preached this morning that mathematicians, their words were logical, I lied. Most of the time they were normal. Yes, ma'am.
The little prime, is it like saying for just x alone would be like 1, and then for x prime would be like 1a? And that's kind of what it would be. If there was a third one that we translated to.
Oh,
Maybe three
okay, if we translated the new image to another new image, this would be X
Double
prime prime.
Two
Would be two primes.
Double prime.
Okay, so now you're doing this, ma'am. And you may be
Double
right.
double prime is correct.
So now let's get on task, people. Get on
Thank you.
task, we're doing this one, my time is ticking down. If you need more patty paper, I have it. If you need more graph paper, I don't think we have it. Alexis had some up here. We've got little.
do you have any markers, Alexis? Like,
Toward the left.
thank you. If you need them, just come get them.
I get really nervous when I don't hear conversations.
That's what I'm thinking.
This, sure. Sorry.
No, I was actually Jen. I was just seeing if Liquor would pick it up.
Okay, and she did.
She did. You know, I thought it was kind of fun. I swindled my way out of answering something.
Oh, we're doing the same three,
3 units to the left. 4 units.
Same one?
triangle, 3 to the left. Draw the triangle.
Basically the patty paper.
Oh, I started, I think I'm still on the other one, this is a whole new problem, okay?
This is a whole new problem. We have a triangle now. Draw it, sketch it with your patty paper, translate it. I know this.
It's like it.
Graph paper, what do you need? Are you telling?
But B is,
I prefer,
Keep in mind the rules still apply. You can only ask questions.
On the figures. It's like yours, triangle.
My best feel like it's
The X into Y.
minus 3. Wait, that's, yeah.
And how many is minus the left?
And then only minus 4.
Y.
two, are we translating the original, or are we translating the time? Whenever we
You
go.
are translating the original every time.
Every time.
Thank you, Brenda.
Sorry.
Translating the original every time. What's that brown for?
Versus what? Versus what?
Versus translating the translation.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna go back to this one every time, you're not going, whichever one was
Oh, do that
original.
right?
Go back to this one every time, don't translate to this one.
Oh, those are number two.
Yeah, this is number two.
I'm just looking
I
at
know I went
number
to the
one
right.
versus number
Gotcha.
two.
No, the original is in the top.
We're doing two translations.
I just
You're
want
doing
3
two
and 4. I thought
translations
it
of
was
the
the same thing.
same time.
Yeah, so instead of right.
So I am going left and then 4 units up.
Yeah.
On number one.
On number one, there's 2 different ones. Thank you. So I'm not wrong.
Oh.
Okay, never mind, I'm good.
Is there any doubt?
1, 2, 3. Well, I mean,
I did number 2 first.
there's 2 different scenarios.
So 3 to the left, you should go
There's a
left
one
and
and a two.
the other one is down.
Okay, I didn't
So you
know.
go all the
Let
way
me
around.
go over this again, I
You're right.
didn't do a good job explaining, okay? This is a new problem, this is your original triangle, right? First, you're going to translate this triangle like this.
Yep.
Okay? Then you're going to try and translate the same original triangle like this. And for each of these, you're gonna complete a chart like this. Now, how many times did I say this? 3, a lot, so that was not very good, but I was pointing, so hopefully.
What would you like us to call the third triangle? Because it really would
Prime,
be
prime.
a
Prime,
prime.
It's
But
not-
no,
it's
wouldn't
not
it be-
really-
it's not prime prime.
It's not prime if
Thank
you
you.
didn't translate the
Quit.
prime. So you can just call it, you just put prime on it again.
So the stars.
We can still use
No, prime prime is
That's
from the
prime prime is
previous.
the translation.
Yeah, so we had the previous translation, so we translate to the second and then third.
I don't care what you call it.
Yours is in a different, oh, you just did the X, you didn't do the Y.
Prime prime, it's to that one, and then you took the prime, and then you.
Yeah, I've always shown you guys different.
And remember,
Like, this
like
is our first
one, why
Yeah.
here's our second one.
So like,
We're always going from the original, so I've always done,
Yeah,
Like
this was from
eight
the original, so 8 prime.
I don't know.
I know this.
I'm just saying like, in,
When I did
when I'm
translation 3 years
teaching,
ago,
I've done that in
I didn't do that.
mathematics.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the books that I've used, and I think they did not do that, but that was one of my. Be sure you're checking with your partners.
So you don't want this table for this one, you just want this one, the triangles?
We're skipping that intermediate step, because y'all are smarter now.
When you did the translate. Just the orange one. And then,
Little bottom parts.
She wants her bottom shelf.
I went too fast. I did that. I really don't say it. I'm gonna stop.
You're the one who said it.
I can take them further.
You're the one who said it.
Well,
For me to take them further.
you need more pages?
oh, alright.
I'm sure I can. She knew my husband.
I talked to you, so yeah.
Yeah.
I have one of these in it.
For all 3.
You know. That's constantly making noise.
Yes.
one?
I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know.
So, yes.
Oh.
Gonna make it.
So you're coming up with algebraic expressions.
And put -3.
So which one are we putting into the chart?
This one.
Oh, we're doing 3. 1, 2.
3 units to the left and 4 units down.
Okay,
Oh.
I see.
Some erasers would be really helpful, Alexis.
Yeah, okay.
Here.
If your polygon moves to the left, what will happen to
Okay,
this?
so now here I am, 4 units to the left.
Oh, wait, we have a fresh one.
Okay. The polygon moves that, we'll have it go on.
It goes up.
Thank you, Alexis.